The stars above Earth had always looked the same to humanity. Billions of tiny lights scattered across the dark sky, peaceful and distant. But on this Tuesday morning in March, something changed forever. Captain Sunho stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force ship Guardian, staring at his screen with wide eyes. The numbers made no sense. Something massive had just appeared at the edge of their solar system, far beyond Pluto. It was huge, bigger than any ship humans had ever built. "Sir, we're getting a signal," said his communications officer, Lieutenant Hana. Her voice shook slightly. It's not from Earth." Sunho felt his heart race. After decades of looking for signs of alien life, it had finally happened. They had come to humanity instead. "Put it through," he ordered. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something impossible. A creature stood before them, tall and graceful, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer with its own light. Its eyes were large and dark, and when it spoke, the words came through their translation system in perfect Korean. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Velther of the Catherian Empire, speaking for the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace and friendship." Sunho swallowed hard. "This is Captain Sunho of the Earth Defense Force. We ... We receive your message." The alien's face moved in, what might have been a smile. "Excellent. We request permission to speak with your planetary leaders. We bring an offer that will change your world forever." 2 hours later, President Dong-min sat in his office in Seoul, surrounded by his top advisors. The alien message played again on the large screen. Dr. Nari, Earth's best scientist who studied space and alien life, had been called in urgently from her lab. "Mr. President," she said, adjusting her glasses, "our scans show their ship is at least 50 kilometers long. The technology readings are ... incredible. They're using power sources we can barely understand." Defense Minister Kyung-soo leaned forward. "What do they want?" "They say they want to talk," Dong-min replied. "They're asking for a formal meeting on the alien ship Eternal Harmony." Ambassador Velther moved through corridors filled with representatives from 12 different worlds. Each looked completely different from the others. Some walked on 4 legs, others floated in the air. One looked like a giant insect, another like a walking tree. "The humans have agreed to meet," Velther announced to the group. As expected, they seemed eager to join galactic society. Grix, who looked like a large, intelligent octopus, waved his tentacles. "Of course they are. What primitive species wouldn't want to join the Confederation? We offer them everything: technology, protection, trade, knowledge." The insect-like BZG clicked his mandibles. "In 12,000 years, no species has ever refused membership. These humans will be no different." Velther nodded. This was routine. Every few decades, the Confederation found a new species that had developed enough technology to be worth adding to their great community. The species was always grateful. They always said yes immediately. Back on Earth, President Dong-min called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Government. Leaders from every nation gathered in the Great Hall that had once been the United Nations building. "Friends," Dong-min began, "today marks the most important day in human history. We are no longer alone in the universe." The hall buzzed with excitement and fear. Some leaders looked thrilled, others worried. Dr. Nari stood to address the assembly. "Based on our analysis, these aliens represent a vast galactic community. Their technology is hundreds, maybe thousands of years ahead of ours. They could destroy us easily if they wanted to. But they don't want to," added Foreign Minister In-soo. "They're offering us membership in their confederation. Think of what we could learn from them." President Dong-min raised his hand for silence. "The question is, what do they want in return?" The answer came the next day. Ambassador Velther's image appeared on screens around the world as he addressed all of humanity at once. People of Earth, the alien said, the Galactic Confederation formally invites you to join our great community. For 12,000 years, we have brought peace and prosperity to countless worlds. The alien gestured, and images appeared showing beautiful cities on distant planets, amazing technology, and peaceful cooperation between different species. As members of the Confederation, you will receive advanced technology to solve your problems of disease, hunger, and energy. Your ships will travel between the stars and days instead of years. You will have the protection of the galaxy's greatest military forces. It sounded like a dream come true. But then Velther continued, in return, Earth will become a junior member world. Your leaders will report to the Confederation Council. Your military will serve under our command. Your trade and technology development will be guided by our experts. Your people will be educated in proper galactic civilization. In the Seoul government building, the room fell silent. President Dong-min looked around at his advisors. The offer was incredible, but the price was clear. Humanity would no longer be in charge of its own destiny. Captain Sunho, monitoring the alien ship from his position in space, noticed something interesting. Dr. Nari, he said over the communication link, I'm reading massive energy spikes. From their ship. They're talking to someone far away, probably their home worlds. Dr. Nari nodded as she studied the data. They're very confident. Their body language, their tone, everything suggests they think this is already decided. President Dong-min spent the next 3 days in meetings. He talked to military leaders, scientists, philosophers, and ordinary citizens. The question was simple but difficult. Should humanity accept the alien offer? Some argued yes. The technology alone could end poverty and disease. Humanity could learn from civilizations thousands of years older and wiser. Others argued no. Humanity had fought for independence and freedom for centuries. Why give it up now to become junior partners in someone else's empire? On the 4th day, President Dong-min made his decision. He called Ambassador Velther and requested a formal meeting. The alien appeared on screen, looking pleased. President Dong-min, we are ready to begin the membership ceremony. The Confederation Council is honored to welcome Earth. Dong-min took a deep breath. Around the world, billions of humans watched and waited. Ambassador Velther, he said calmly, we have carefully considered your generous offer. Velther's silver skin seemed to glow brighter with anticipation. However, Dong-min continued, humanity must respectfully decline membership in the Galactic Confederation at this time. A silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. On the alien ship, 12 species of galactic diplomats stared at their screens in complete shock. Ambassador Velther's large dark eyes blinked slowly, as if he couldn't believe what he had heard. I'm sorry, he said finally. Could you repeat that? There may have been an error in translation. President Dong-min smiled slightly. There was no error, Ambassador. Our answer is no. Thank you for the offer, but humanity chooses to remain independent. The transmission ended, leaving the aliens staring at blank screens. For the first time in 12,000 years of galactic diplomacy, a species had said no. The silence inside the alien ship Eternal Harmony lasted exactly 4 seconds. Then chaos erupted. Ambassador Velther stood frozen, his silver skin flickering between different colors like a broken light. His large dark eyes stared at the blank communication screen where President Dong-min's image had been moments before. What did he say? Whispered Grix, the octopus-like creature from the Mollusk Collective. His tentacles curled and uncurled nervously. He said no, replied Velther, his voice barely a whisper. The insect diplomat BZGTH made a sound like steam escaping from a broken pipe. Impossible. The translation system must be damaged. Around the conference room, 12 alien species began talking at once. Some made clicking sounds, others hummed, and a few produced noises that human ears could never hear. The translation systems worked overtime, filling the air with confused voices. "Check the linguistic computers," ordered Velther, finally finding his voice. "Run the translation again." Humans must have meant something else. Technical Officer Yixaw, a being that looked like a walking crystal, touched several glowing panels. "All systems working perfectly, Ambassador." The human leader clearly said they declined membership. Velther's skin turned a deep purple color. That meant extreme confusion in his species. In 12,000 years of galactic history, this had never happened. Not once. Back on Earth, President Dongmin sat in his office, watching news reports from around the world. The reaction was mixed. Some people celebrated in the streets, proud that humanity had chosen independence. Others protested, angry that their leaders had refused amazing alien technology. Dr. Nari knocked on his door and entered without waiting for permission. "Mr. President, the alien ship is going crazy. Energy readings are off the charts. They're sending messages to dozens of different star systems." "Are they angry?" asked Dongmin. "More like ... confused," Nari replied, studying her tablet. "It's like they can't understand what just happened." Captain Sunho's voice came through the communication system. "Mr. President, I'm picking up massive communication traffic from the alien vessel. They're talking to their home worlds, but I can't decode the messages." Defense Minister Kung Su entered the room, looking worried. "Sir, should we prepare our defenses? What if they try to force us to join?" Dongmin shook his head. "They said, they come in peace. Let's see what they do next." On the alien ship, Ambassador Velther called an emergency meeting with his diplomatic team. The conference room buzzed with nervous energy. "This is unprecedented," said Velther, pacing back and forth. "In all of Confederation history, every species offered membership has accepted immediately." Grix waved his tentacles. "Maybe they don't understand what we're offering. These humans are still primitive. Perhaps they fear our advanced technology." The tree-like being Morok creaked when he spoke. "Our cultural analysis shows humans value something they call freedom very highly. Maybe that's the problem." "Freedom?" Velther's skin flashed yellow, indicating confusion. "But Confederation membership gives them freedom from war, from hunger, from disease. What more could they want?" Zikth clicked his mandibles rapidly. "They must be frightened. Primitive species often react with fear when first contacted." Velther made a decision. "We'll send another message, a better one. We'll explain all the benefits more clearly. Surely they'll understand then." The next day, Earth received a second transmission from the aliens. This time, Ambassador Velther brought visual aids. He showed humans images of beautiful worlds where alien species lived in harmony. Cities that floated in the clouds, underwater kingdoms, space stations bigger than Earth's moon. "People of Earth," Velther said, his voice gentle and patient. "Perhaps we did not explain clearly enough. Confederation membership will solve all your problems." The images changed to show medical facilities where diseases were cured instantly, farms that could feed billions with no effort, and schools where children learned the secrets of the universe. Your ships will travel faster than light. Your people will live for hundreds of years. War will become impossible. Poverty will end forever. President Dongmin watched the presentation with his advisors. The alien technology was truly amazing. The cities were beautiful beyond imagination. "You will keep your cultures and languages," Velther continued. "You will still govern your own daily affairs. The Confederation only guides major decisions to ensure peace and prosperity for all. The presentation ended with Velther's patient smile. Surely now you understand the great gift we offer. We await your acceptance. The communication ended, and Dongmin's office fell quiet. It's incredible, whispered Dr. Nari. With that technology, we could solve climate change, cure cancer, and hunger. But at what cost? Asked Foreign Minister In Su. They want to control our major decisions. Our military would serve them. Our development would follow their rules. Defense Minister Kong Su nodded. We'd become a junior partner in their empire. Earth would never again make its own choices about important things. Dongmin stood and walked to the window, looking. Out at the city of Seoul, millions of people went about their daily lives, unaware that their future hung in the balance. Schedule another meeting with the aliens, he said finally. 2 hours later, Ambassador Velther appeared on screens around. The world again. This time, he looked confident. Surely the humans understood now. Ambassador Velther, President Dongmin began, we have carefully studied your second presentation. Excellent, replied Velther, his skin glowing with happiness. The Confederation. Council is prepared to welcome Earth immediately. However, Dongmin continued, our answer remains the same. Humanity thanks you for your generous offer, but we must decline. This time, the silence lasted longer. On the alien ship, 12 species of diplomats stared in complete shock. Several made sounds of distress. Velther's skin cycled through colors. That had no names in human language. But you understand what you're refusing? Technology beyond your dreams. Peace across the galaxy. Protection from hostile forces. We understand perfectly, replied Dongmin calmly. But humanity chooses to find its own path among the stars. This is... Velther struggled for words. This is impossible. No species refuses Confederation membership. No one chooses to remain primitive when they could join galactic civilization. Dr. Nari, standing beside President Dongmin, spoke for the first time. Ambassador, we don't consider independence to be primitive. We consider it essential. Velther's large eyes blinked rapidly. But why? Why would you choose struggle when you could have easy prosperity? President Dongmin smiled. Because the struggle makes us who we are. Because our mistakes are ours to make and learn from. Because freedom matters more than comfort. The alien ambassador's skin turned a color none of his species had ever seen before, the color of complete incomprehension. You're saying you prefer hardship to happiness? Danger to safety? Ignorance to knowledge? We're saying we prefer to earn our happiness, create our own safety, and discover knowledge for ourselves, replied Dongmin, even if it takes longer, even if it's harder. The transmission ended, leaving the aliens staring at blank screens once again. On worlds across the galaxy, Confederation leaders received urgent messages about the impossible situation at Earth. Emergency meetings were called. Historians searched ancient databases for any similar incident. They found nothing. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Galactic Confederation didn't know what to do. And somewhere in the back of their vast collective mind, a tiny seed of worry began to grow. If humans could refuse membership twice, what did that mean for the Confederation's perfect system? What if other species started asking the same questions humanity was asking? What if the humans were right? On the planet Nexus Prime, capital of the Galactic Confederation, emergency alarms had been ringing for 3 days straight. The massive crystal towers that housed the government glowed red with urgent activity. Council members from hundreds of worlds rushed through floating corridors, their faces showing panic in dozens of different ways. Supreme Council Leader Zephyr stood in the center of the great assembly hall, her blue crystalline body flickering with stress patterns. Around her, representatives from every major species in the galaxy shouted, clicked, hummed, and buzzed in their native languages. Order, Zephyr commanded, her voice amplified through the hall's sound system. We must have order. The noise died down slowly. Hundreds of alien eyes, sensors, and other organs turned toward their leader. 3 days ago, Zephyr began, the impossible happened. A species called humans has refused Confederation membership. Not once, but twice. A wave of shocked sounds filled the hall. Many species had heard rumors, but few believed them. Counselor Drakenal, a large reptilian being, stood up. Surely there's been some mistake. No intelligent species refuses membership. It's unthinkable. I thought so too, replied Zephyr. But our diplomatic team confirms it. The humans understand our offer perfectly. They simply don't want to join. In the back of the hall, Historical Analysis Division, Head Mordak frantically searched through databases with his assistant Tuval. The young researcher's tentacles moved quickly across holographic controls. Sir, Tuval whispered, I've searched through 12,000 years of records. Every single species offered membership accepted within 3 planetary rotations. Every single one. Mordak's 4 eyes all focused on the data. Keep searching. There must be something. Some precedent. Some guidance for this situation. Back. On Earth, life continued as if nothing had changed. But in government buildings around the world, leaders worked day and night to prepare for what might come next. Dr. Nari stood in her laboratory, studying readings from the alien ship. The energy patterns are unlike anything we've seen, she told her assistant Dr. Wu Jin over the communication link. They're clearly advanced, but their technology works on completely different principles than ours. In the Seoul Defense Center, Captain Sunho coordinated with space stations around the solar system. All units report status, he commanded. Mars base reporting normal operations, came the reply from Commander Bong Ra. Our mining and farming operations continue on schedule. Europa. Station ready, reported Engineer Tae-Hyen. Our underwater cities are fully operational. Asteroid mining fleet reports normal production. Added Fleet Coordinator Mi-Young. President Dong Min reviewed these reports with satisfaction. Even while dealing with alien contact, humanity continued building its future among the stars. They were proving they didn't need outside help. On the alien ship Eternal Harmony, Ambassador Velther had not slept in 3 days. His silver skin had turned a dull gray color that indicated extreme stress. The other diplomats weren't doing much better. We need to try again, said Griggs, his tentacles twisted into knots of worry. Maybe we didn't offer enough. Maybe they want better terms. BZZT made clicking sounds of disagreement. The terms were already more generous than we give most new members. What more could they want? The tree-like Morok creaked thoughtfully. Perhaps they fear we're lying. Some species might think our offers are too good to be true. Velther's skin flickered between gray and purple. Then we show them proof. We take them to see our worlds. We demonstrate our technology in person. But Ambassador, said Technical Officer Yixal, that's against protocol. New species must accept membership before they can visit Confederation worlds. Protocol? Velther's skin flashed bright red. Protocol doesn't cover this situation. No one ever wrote protocols for species that refuse membership. On Nexus Prime, the emergency session continued. Panic was spreading through the galactic government like a disease. Counselor Valimar, a floating gas creature, spoke in worried tones. What if this spreads? What if other species start questioning their membership? Impossible, declared Counselor Thrax, whose species looked like walking rocks. The benefits of Confederation membership are obvious. No one would give up our protection and technology. But privately, many counselors were having the same thoughts. What if the humans were onto something? What if there were alternatives to the Confederation way of life? Zephyr tried to maintain order, but worry gnawed at her crystalline heart. The Confederation had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years, based on one simple principle. They offered benefits that no species could refuse. If humans could refuse, what did that mean for everything they'd built? Dr. Nari made a discovery that changed everything. She burst into President Dongmin's office without knocking, holding a data tablet. "Mr. President, I've been analyzing the alien communications," she said breathlessly. "They're not just talking to their home worlds anymore. They're sending messages to every major government in their confederation." Foreign Minister Insu looked up from his reports. "What kind of messages?" "Emergency signals," Nari replied. "The kind you send when something unprecedented happens." "Sir, I think we've scared them." Defense Minister Kyung-soo frowned. "Scared them? They have technology far beyond ours. How could we scare them?" "By doing something they never imagined possible," answered President Dongmin. "By saying no." 3 days later, the aliens sent their third message to Earth. This time, Ambassador Velther looked different. His usual calm confidence was gone, replaced by something humans recognized as desperation. "People of Earth," he began, "we understand you may have concerns about Confederation membership. Therefore, we invite a delegation of your leaders to visit our worlds. See for yourselves the wonders we offer." The message showed incredible sights, cities that floated among the clouds, beings of pure energy dancing through space, machines that could create anything imaginable from thin air. "We will demonstrate our technology. You will meet our people. You will see that membership in the Confederation is not surrender, but liberation." President Dongmin watched the message with his advisors. The alien cities were beautiful beyond description. The technology could solve every problem humanity faced. "It's tempting," admitted Dr. Nari. "With their help, we could end disease, stop aging, travel to distant galaxies." "But," prompted Dongmin. "But we'd lose something more valuable," replied Defense Minister Kyung-soo. "Our independence, our right to make our own mistakes and find our own solutions." Captain Sun Ho's voice came through the communicator. "Mr. President, I'm detecting massive energy buildups around their ship. I think they're preparing to leave the solar system. Or preparing for something else." Warned Kyung-soo. President Dongmin made his decision. "Open a channel to Ambassador Velther." The alien's image appeared on screen, hope flickering across his strange features. "Ambassador," Dongmin said gently, "we appreciate your generous invitation, but visiting your worlds won't change our answer. Humanity chooses to remain independent." Velther's skin went through colors that human eyes had never seen. "But why? What do you want that we cannot provide?" "The right to succeed or fail on our own terms," replied Dongmin. "The freedom to discover our own path among the stars. The chance to become who we're meant to be, not who you think we should be." The transmission ended, leaving Ambassador Velther staring at his reflection in the blank screen. On Nexus Prime, historical researcher Tuval made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the government. He rushed to his supervisor with data, files clutched in his tentacles. "Sir," he said to Mordek, "I found something. There were 3 species in ancient history that were never offered membership." "Why not?" asked Mordek. "Because they were considered too dangerous, too unpredictable, too independent." Mordek's 4 eyes widened. "What happened to them?" Tuval's voice was barely a whisper. "They conquered half the galaxy before the Confederation stopped them." The implications hit both researchers like a physical blow. Humanity wasn't just refusing membership. They were showing the same traits. As the galaxy's most dangerous conquerors, but unlike those ancient species, humans weren't hostile. They were just ... free ... and somehow that was even more terrifying. 6 months had passed since humanity first refused the Galactic Confederation's offer. During that time, The aliens had sent 17 more diplomatic missions to Earth. Each offer was bigger and better than the last. Ambassador Velther stood in his private quarters aboard the Eternal Harmony, staring at a wall covered with rejected proposals. His silver skin had permanently turned a worried shade of gray. He had offered humans advanced weapons, unlimited energy sources, immortality, treatments, and even seats on the Confederation Council itself. The answer was always the same: thank you, but no. On Earth, Minister of Science and Technology Mi Young finished reading the latest alien proposal with her team. This one offered humanity access to something called quantum consciousness transfer, a technology that would let human minds travel instantly across the galaxy. "It's incredible," said her assistant Dr. So Young, studying the technical specifications. "They're offering us godlike powers." Mi Young set down the data pad and sighed. "And our answer?" "The same as always," replied Dr. So Young. "Thank you, but no." The response was sent to the aliens within an hour. On the alien ship, Velther received it and felt something break inside his heart. His species had been diplomats for 3,000 years. They had never failed to convince anyone of anything. Until now. "Sir," said Technical Officer Yixel, approaching carefully, "we've received new orders from Nexus Prime." Velther looked up hopefully. "Reinforcements? Better technology? To offer them?" "No, sir. The Supreme Council wants us to observe the humans more closely. They want to understand how a species can develop so quickly without Confederation help." On Nexus Prime, the panic had turned into something worse: genuine fear. In the Great Assembly Hall, Supreme Council Leader Zephyr addressed an emergency session of the entire Confederation government. "Fellow beings," she announced, "we face an unprecedented crisis. The humans have not only refused our offers, but they continue to advance technologically at an alarming rate." She gestured, and holographic displays showed human activity throughout their solar system. In 6 months, they have established permanent bases on 4 worlds, developed new faster-than-light communications, and created energy sources that rival our own. Worried murmurs filled the hall. Counselor Drakenel raised his clawed hand. "How is this possible? Species need Confederation guidance to advance safely." Historical researcher Mordak stood up, his 4 eyes blinking nervously. "Honored Council, MY research shows this has happened before. 3 times in galactic history, species developed independently at rapid rates." "What happened to those species?" asked Zephyr. "They became problems," Mordak replied carefully. "The Vrexani conquered 12 systems before we stopped them. The Corthalans started a war that lasted 300 years. The Zelth single quotes Ari double quotes he paused. The Zelfari convinced 47 Confederation worlds to leave and join their independent alliance." The hall fell silent. The idea of Confederation, worlds choosing to leave, was more terrifying than any military threat. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Sunho prepared for humanity's first major independent space mission. The ship New Horizon was ready to leave the solar system and explore nearby star systems without any alien help or permission. "All systems ready, Captain," reported Navigation Officer J1 from the bridge. "Course plotted for the Kepler system." "Engineering reports full power," added Chief Engineer Tae Hein. "Our new fusion drives are working perfectly." Sunho smiled with pride. Human technology might be different from the aliens, but it was theirs. Every bolt, every wire, every line of computer code had been created by human hands and minds. "Take us out," he commanded. The New Horizon engaged its engines and began the journey to humanity's first independent interstellar destination. 3 days later, Confederation patrol ships detected the human vessel leaving the solar system. The news sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. "They're doing what?" demanded Ambassador Velther when he received the report. "Leaving their home system without permission or guidance," repeated Communications Officer Beltrix. "They're heading for the Kepler system." Velther's skin flashed red with alarm. "But that's restricted space. New species aren't allowed to explore independently until they've been members for at least 50 years. "Sir," said Yüksel carefully, "they're not members. Technically, Confederation law doesn't apply to them." For a moment, Velther couldn't speak. The humans were right. If they weren't Confederation members, then Confederation laws meant nothing to them. They could go wherever they wanted. "Send an intercept course," he ordered. "We need to escort them back to their system." "Sir," Yüksel hesitated, "our orders are to observe only. We're not supposed to interfere unless they pose a direct threat." Velther stared at his officer. The humans weren't threatening anyone. They were simply leaving, exploring, acting like they owned the galaxy, which, technically, they had every right to do. On the bridge of the New Horizon, Captain Sun Ho detected the approaching alien ships. There were 3 of them, sleek and powerful. "Sir, we're being hailed," reported J1. "Put them through." Ambassador Velther's worried face appeared on the main screen. "Captain Sun Ho, this is Ambassador Velther. We must ask you to return to your home system immediately." Sun Ho raised an eyebrow. "May I ask why, Ambassador?" "The Kepler system contains dangerous phenomena that could harm your ship. For your own safety, please return to Earth and await proper guidance." Sun Ho looked at his navigation charts. According to their sensors, the Kepler system was perfectly safe. "Thank you for your concern, Ambassador, but our equipment shows no dangers. We'll proceed with our mission." "Captain, please." Velther's voice sounded desperate. "This area of space requires special navigation techniques that only Confederation members possess." Engineer Tae Hyen looked up from his console. "Sir, I'm detecting no unusual spatial phenomena. The aliens' warnings don't match our sensor data." Sun Ho made his decision. "Ambassador, we appreciate your warnings, but we must respectfully decline your escort. We'll proceed on our planned course." The transmission ended, leaving the alien ships following at a distance. They didn't try to stop the humans, but they didn't leave either back on Nexus Prime. The news of humanity's independent space exploration sent the Council into its worst panic yet. Species weren't supposed to explore the galaxy without permission. They weren't supposed to develop advanced technology independently. They certainly weren't supposed to politely refuse alien assistance. Supreme Council Leader Zephyr called another emergency session. "The humans have now demonstrated they can refuse our help, develop advanced technology, and explore space independently," she announced. "What does this mean for the Confederation?" Counselor Velimar spoke nervously. "If humans can succeed without us, what stops other species from trying the same thing?" "Nothing," replied Mordok grimly. "And that's exactly what happened with the Zelthari. Once other species saw their success, dozens of worlds left the Confederation to join them." The hall filled with worried sounds as hundreds of species imagined their carefully ordered galaxy falling apart. But the worst news was yet to come. Junior researcher Tuval burst into the hall carrying urgent reports. "Supreme Council," he announced. Breathlessly, "We're receiving inquiries from 17 different member worlds. They're asking about the terms for leaving the Confederation." The silence that followed was deafening. "They want to know," Tuval continued, "if humans can be independent, why can't they?" Zephyr felt her crystalline structure crack slightly. Under the stress, the one thing the Confederation had always feared was happening. Humanity's example was inspiring others to question the system that had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years. And somewhere in the Kepler system, Captain Sun Ho was proving that species could thrive and explore without asking permission from anyone. The age of unquestioned Confederation authority was ending. And it was ending because humanity had taught the galaxy a simple but revolutionary idea. It was okay to say no. 2 years had passed since humanity first said no to the Galactic Confederation. In that short time, everything had changed. Captain Sun-Ho stood on the bridge of humanity's newest ship, the Independence, watching 3 human colonies on different worlds through the main screen. Each colony was thriving, built entirely with human technology and determination. Colony status report, he requested. Kepler colony reports successful harvest of their new grain crops, came the voice of Colonial. Administrator Biora. Population now at 50,000 and growing. Proxima Station confirms successful mining operations, reported engineer Tae-Hyun from the asteroid belt colony. Our new refineries are producing materials faster than Earth can use them. New. Geneva colony has established contact with the local Frithel people, added diplomat So Young. They're interested in trade agreements. Sun-Ho smiled. The Frithel were one of several species that the Confederation had labeled as too primitive for membership. Humanity had discovered they were actually quite advanced, just different. Now they were becoming humanity's first independent alien. Allies on Earth. President Dong-min prepared for the most important meeting in human history. Dr. Nari had finished analyzing 2 years of alien behavior, and her conclusions were startling. Mr. President, she said, adjusting her glasses as she entered his office, the Confederation is in complete chaos. 23 worlds have formally requested independence. Dozens more are questioning their membership terms. Foreign Minister In-Soo looked up from his reports. What's the Confederation's response? Panic, replied Nari. They're offering better terms to keep worlds from leaving, but it's not working. Once species realize they have a choice, many are choosing independence. Defense Minister Kyung-soo entered the room carrying urgent news. Sir, we've received a message from Nexus Prime. It's not from the diplomatic corps this time. It's directly from the Supreme Council. What do they want now? Asked Dong-min. To surrender, replied Kyung-Soo. The room fell silent. After 2 years of rejected offers and failed negotiations, the Galactic Confederation was ready to give up. Nexus Prime, Supreme Council Leader Zephyr, stood before an emergency assembly of the remaining Confederation worlds. Nearly a quarter of the seats were empty. Those species had already left to form their own independent alliances. Fellow beings, she announced, her crystalline voice cracking with stress, we face the greatest crisis in Confederation history. The human example has inspired a galactic revolution. Historical researcher Mordak presented his final report to the assembly. His 4 eyes showed exhaustion from months of desperate research. Honored Council, he said, I have studied every aspect of human development. They have achieved in 2 years what typically takes new Confederation members 50 years to accomplish. Their technology, while different from ours, is equally advanced. Their society is stable and peaceful. Their exploration efforts have discovered 3 new habitable worlds and established positive contact with 6 non-Confederation species. The assembly buzzed with worried sounds. Everything Mordak described should have been impossible without Confederation guidance. Most disturbing, Mordak continued, is their influence on other species. The Frithel, the Chemtar, and the Yexuli have all joined humanity's independent alliance. These species rejected our membership offers for centuries, but they accepted humanity's friendship immediately. Councillor Drekanol raised his clawed hand. What makes humans so different? Why do others follow them when they won't follow us? Young. Researcher Tuval stood up nervously. Sir, I believe I know the answer. Humans offer partnership, not membership. They don't demand obedience or control. They simply offer friendship and mutual cooperation. The words hit the assembly like a physical blow. For 12,000 years, the Confederation had offered membership, joining their system, following their rules, accepting their guidance. Humanity offered something completely different: equality. Meanwhile, Ambassador Velther sat alone in his quarters aboard the Eternal Harmony, writing his final report. His silver skin had lost all its shine, turned permanently gray with stress and failure. To the Supreme Council, he dictated to his computer, "After 2 years of diplomatic efforts, I must report complete failure. Humanity remains committed to independence. Worse, they have proven that independence works." He paused, struggling with words that went against everything he'd been taught to believe. "The humans have created something we thought impossible. A successful interstellar civilization based on cooperation rather than hierarchy. They have proven that species don't need our guidance to thrive among the stars." The hardest words came next. "I recommend that the Confederation formally recognize human independence and request diplomatic relations as equals." Back on Earth, President Dong Min received the message from Nexus Prime. The Supreme Council was requesting a meeting, but this time the tone was completely different. "People of Earth," said Supreme Council Leader Zephyr in the transmission, "we request the honor of opening formal diplomatic relations between the Galactic Confederation and the Independent Human Alliance." President Dong Min smiled slightly. Independent Human Alliance. They were finally recognizing humanity as a separate power, not a species to be absorbed. "We wish to learn from your example," Zephyr continued. Perhaps there are better ways to organize galactic civilization than the methods we have used for 12,000 years." Dr. Nari couldn't hide her amazement. "Mr. President, they're asking us to teach them about independence." 3 days later, the most unusual diplomatic meeting in galactic history took place. But this time, it wasn't held on an alien ship or in a Confederation facility. It was held on Luna Station, humanity's newest orbital city around Earth's moon. Ambassador J1, humanity's first interstellar diplomat, welcomed the alien delegation. Unlike previous meetings, the aliens didn't come as superior beings offering gifts to primitives. They came as equals seeking to understand a different way of life. "Welcome to Luna Station," J1 said warmly. "We're honored to host this historic meeting." Supreme Council Leader Zephyr looked around at the human-built station with new eyes. The technology was different from Confederation standards, but it was elegant and efficient. More importantly, it was free. "Ambassador J1," she said carefully, "we come not to offer membership, but to propose something new. A treaty between equals. A partnership based on mutual respect rather than hierarchy." J1 nodded. "We're listening. The Confederation has ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years by making species dependent on us," Zephyr continued. "You have shown us that independence and cooperation can work just as well, perhaps better." The negotiations lasted 3 days. When they ended, something revolutionary had been created: the Galactic Cooperation Treaty. Instead of membership and hierarchy, it established a system of equal partnerships between independent civilizations. The Confederation would remain, but as one power among many, not as the supreme authority. Worlds could choose their own paths, form their own alliances, and develop their own solutions to problems. President Dong Min addressed both Earth and the galaxy as the treaty was signed. "Today marks the beginning of a new age," he announced. "An age where every species has the right to determine its own destiny among the stars. Where cooperation replaces domination, and where saying no is just as valid as saying yes." On Nexus Prime, the Great Assembly Hall had been transformed. Instead of hierarchical seating with senior and junior members, the layout was circular. Every species sat as equals. Captain Sun-Ho now promoted to Admiral of the Human Space Force, watched from the observation deck as his daughter Min Young played with alien children from a dozen different worlds. The young ones didn't understand the old divisions. To them, cooperation was natural. Ambassador Velther approached, his silver skin finally showing healthy colors again. Admiral Sunho, I owe your species an apology. We thought we were offering you a gift. We didn't realize we were trying to take away your greatest treasure. Which was? Asked Sunho. Your freedom to choose your own path, replied Velther. Your right to succeed or fail on your own terms. Your independence. Sunho smiled. You didn't take it away. You couldn't. That's what you never understood. Freedom isn't something that can be given or taken. It's something you have to claim for yourself. As the two beings watched the children play together, the galaxy's future stretched out before them. It would be messier than the old Confederation. Way. There would be more conflicts, more mistakes, more chaos. But there would also be more innovation, more diversity, more real cooperation between truly free peoples. Humanity had taught the galaxy the most important lesson of all. Sometimes, the most powerful word in the universe is no. And from that simple word, a new galaxy was born.